Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince. Welcome back to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Hey, you guys remember Hanna-Barbera? A legendary animation company known for using limited animation and creating such classic cartoons known as Yogi Bear, Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, and Tom and Jerry. Well, when I was young, their shows were one of my favorites next to Disney. But I wasn't really introduced to Hanna-Barbera from their classic TV shows. No. My introduction to them was a movie that was moderately good, but still better than any live-action adaptation of their shows. That one happens to be the subject of today's blog. Released on July 6, 1990, the movie is Jetsons The Movie. So, let's start with the film summary. George Jetson gets a job offer. He can run his own sprocket factory. However, problem is the factory is on some distant planet, and he's not the first employee from Spacely Sprockets Incorporated to be sent to that factory. It turns out that the plant is being sabotaged because it affects the caves underneath. How does George satisfy his boss and stops the plant from destroying the land of the creatures living below the factory? Well, I would explain more, but that would explain too much information about the film since I can't really do full-length film reviews. But anyway, what did I think of it? Well, I enjoyed it when I was a kid. And am I ever glad that my parents got this film for me when it made a home video release? And I practically watched it non-stop in my childhood. Plus, it even influenced me to watch the Jetsons TV show and other Hanna-Barbera cartoons during the time. Now, it's been a long time since I last saw the movie, and after recently watching it again, I still enjoy it, but probably not as much as I used to. Now, I think I should explain some trivia about this film in my Mustang notes. Jetsons The Movie was originally slated for a 1989 film release, but it was delayed to avoid competition with Disney's Little Mermaid, Don Bluth's All Dogs Go to Heaven, which were both released on the same day, along with Universal Studios' own Back to the Future Part 2, and, well, Universal released The Wizard in its place, which was responsible for introducing the Super Mario Bros. 3 to the USA. Jetsons The Movie is also noted for its early use of CGI, including digital ink and paint. The technique had already been used in Disney's The Black Cauldron, The Great Mouse Detective, Oliver and Company, and The Little Mermaid, as well as some of the Hanna-Barbera's own 1980s television productions. The animation artwork follows the leads in the series in its art direction and character designs, although additional flourishes such as full animation and form shadows on the characters were added for the film. I also like the design of the orbiting asteroid, which is mostly where the film takes place at. I mean, the whole place is set with a huge shopping mall and a neighborhood estate connected with the new plant. As for the story, it was okay. It's a tad cliched at times, meaning for its message about protecting the environment and observing ethical practices when doing businesses in developing countries. But I don't really give a damn about what other people have to say about it. I mean, it's not that bad to me. And okay, what else do I have to say about this? Okay. Oh yes, the music. In my eyes, the music in this film is a tad dated, though. making it sound like it came straight from the 80s, but I don't seem to care since I love music and songs that were from the 80s. However, there are a few songs that I need to mention in this film that I actually enjoy. I mean, like the Jetsons theme song, which is in the beginning, along with Maybe Love, which is sung by Stephen McClintock, who voices Cosmic Cosmo in just one scene, so I'm not going to talk about him since he's only appears in one scene and only he's forgettable. And along with Stay Together and With You All the Way by Shane Sutton. Now, I think I should also move on to the cast of this film. Now, let's begin with the two actors who passed away before the film was actually released. George Jetson is voiced by George O'Hanlon. Now, in my eyes, George is a funny character whose job is pushing a button to get things started. However, in this film, while he's working at the new plant, I feel like he lets his new job as vice president go to his head. Plus, I also noticed that George sleeps on the job while he's working. And now, Mr. Spacely was voiced by the man with a million voices at the time, Mel Blanc. Now, everyone who watched the show probably knows they already know that he's the CEO of Spacely Sprockets and George's boss. But in my eyes, I do like him because he can be a bit funny at times, but I don't like him for being a stubborn, hot-headed idiot in this film. Now, because George O'Hanlon and Mel Blanc both died during production of this film in 1989, Jeff Bergman filled in for both characters in some scenes. The film was dedicated to the memories of both men. Now we have Elroy Jetson, who is voiced by Patrick Zimmerman. Because Dawes Butler, the original voice of Elroy, had died in 1988, but however, in my eyes, Patrick does a good job with capturing Elroy's voice. Also, Elroy is pretty smart for such a young boy, especially with using his detective skill to help his dad. Plus, his elevator move during his baseball games are really neat. Next, we have Judy Jetson, who was voiced by famous pop singer at the time, Tiffany. Who I remember seeing in a film called Mega Piranha. Tiffany also sang 3 of the songs in the film. For example, I Always Thought I'd See You Again is like a certain sad song expressing Judy's feelings about, being separated from the boyfriend she left behind at home. The You and Me song, which is like a certain rock song that plays out almost like a Pink Floyd music video, and the ending song, Home. Now in my eyes, Judy is like every typical teenage girl, the kind of person who would want a boyfriend. The rest of the Jetsons family involves Jane Jetson, who is voiced by Penny Singleton, which unfortunately this was her last film before retirement, I think. We also have Rosie, the Jetsons robot, voiced by Jean Vanderply. and their dog Astro, voiced by Don Messick. Who in My Eyes makes me think of Dino from the Flintstones and Scooby-Doo. Now let's move on to the new characters for this film, starting with George's new partner, Rudy 2. Who's voiced by Ronnie Shell. Rudy is a robot who works at the new plant, keeping watch on the place and fixing any damages. He also helps show George the ropes while at the plant. Rudy's wife, Lucy 2, is voiced by Patty Ditch. Lucy doesn't do too much in this film, but she does give Jane and Judy a tour of the mall at one part of the film. Next we have Teddy 2, Elroy's new friend, voiced by Dana Hill, who did voice Jerry in the Tom and Jerry movie 2 years later. Sorry that I had to mention that film. Anyway, Teddy did start out as a rival for Elroy, but they did become best friends after Elroy managed to protect Teddy by keeping a few sprockets from hitting him. Next we have Apollo Blue, who is voiced by Paul Kreppel. Who did play the Wizard of Oz in the Broadway musical Wicked. Apollo also doesn't do too much in this film either, but he is a great guitarist and makes a nice boyfriend for Judy. The rest of the new characters involves Bertie Furbelow, voiced by Brad Garrett, this was his first film at the time. Gertie Furbelow, voiced by Susan Silo. Along with their daughter, Fergie Furbelow. Voiced by current Minnie Mouse voice, Rusty Taylor. And the last character I want to talk about is Squeep. Who is voiced by the legendary Frank Welker. And he also does the voices for all the other grungies. For those who might have seen this film, already might know that these guys are the reason why the plant is being sabotaged. Because every time the plant is activated, the drill causes rock slides and earthquakes, which are ruining the grungies' homes. Now, while these guys are the most adorable characters in this film, they kind of make me think of Gizmo from the Gremlins movie. And now to move on to my final words of this film. Although Jetsons the Movie, in my eyes, isn't really that bad of a movie, the animation is still in the Hanna-Barbera style, while some things are computer generated, which I don't mind about. Sure, the film does have some flaws, like the story having an environmental message, which I'm one of those people who don't care about. The voice acting is superb, but still sad that we lost Mel Blanc and George O'Hanlon in the process. And while the music and songs are a bit dated, they're still nice to listen to. So, with that said, my rating for this film will have to be a 73%. Well, that's all for tonight, everybody. Be sure to join me next time as we move out of Hanna-Barbera territory and on to Dr. Seuss territory. See you later, everybody.